topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hey, good morning, Atlanta and the state of Georgia, since we are communicating throughout the state. Hey, welcome to another Ask the Experts, where we bring you the top experts in the field of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Our show has been running in the Atlanta area now for 4 years. We were on radio before then for about 9 years. And I appreciate all the letters that we get with your ideas about new experts and also talking about our current experts. Our show this morning is the one that gets the most letters. It is probably the easiest show to do because our expert is so knowledgeable. And I love what he does for the city of Atlanta, state of Georgia. And this people are making, their New Year's resolutions about weight loss. And I am so lucky that we have, I think, one of the top physicians in the United States when it comes to weight loss. Let me welcome my buddy, my friend, Dr. Eldred Taylor. Good morning, Dr. Taylor.
Hey, good morning. Good morning. Happy New Year.
Same to you. Yeah, I love doing the show with you because you just, I feel myself just hanging on every word you say. And what you say makes so much sense. Yeah. And I got to tell you, I'm in awe what you did. You went to one of the finest schools in the country in Emory. Yeah. And you had this great OBGYN practice, and you basically gave that up to go into functional medicine, which I am a huge advocate of now after our show. But you know about weight loss. And what people will love about you, you've got so many different ways. It's not just give them a pill and that's it. You in your bag, you just have many ways, and it's got to be that way because everybody's body is different.
Yeah.
But one of the things I want to do first is I have noticed that so many new people are tuning in every week. Tell everybody about yourself and about your practice.
Okay. Well, as you said, I went to Emory University for medical school. I'm from Nashville, went to Vanderbilt undergrad and came here to go to medical school and did a residency in OBGYN. Met my wife in medical school. She practices like I do now, but she's originally trained in family practice and psychiatry. So anyway, we practiced like we were taught for 7, 8, 9 years. And we had 2 children in that process. And then, during that time, my wife began to have issues. Hormonal issues, PMS, being irritable, all of these things.
So what age was she at that time, Dr. Taylor?
Okay, look, now I hope my wife doesn't hear this because she doesn't.
No, not how old she is now, but how old when this.
I like we talking about age. But she was in her late 30s, early 40s, and having these issues. And I was treating her with birth control pills and whatever, and it wasn't working. So anyway, I had a patient came in and was asking me about natural hormones and progesterone, and the person gave me a cassette tape. That's how long ago it was, and had me listen to it. And it talked about how physiology worked and estrogen and progesterone, and how do you measure hormones is through saliva. That was probably the epiphany that came over me, is that you can actually measure hormones. Because when I was in my residency, we never drew blood to look at hormones. We never tested hormones. We just gave you a birth control pill, gave you an antidepressant, did hysterectomies. We never measured anything because blood testing doesn't tell you anything. That's why we never learned to pay any attention to it. But in saliva, you can look at hormones. You can balance estrogen and progesterone, which will affect weight loss or weight gain. You can look at cortisol levels, which cortisol mobilizes glucose. So if you have too much or too little, it can affect weight loss. So anyway, make a long story short, that turned my career around. When I figured out that, hey, look, how you really do something is something different than what I learned in medical school, I started to look at other things that may be different from what I learned. How does the body actually work? How does it actually function? And that's where functional medicine comes in. How can we help the body function as well as it can for as long as it can? And that's by trying to make sure that we stay in balance. And that means in hormones, with what we eat, with how our gut works, how our brains works. Everything should be in balance. So I didn't mean to take that much time, but that's kind of
it's fine.
Yeah. So instead of just handing somebody something just because that's what we do for everybody, it's more about what is going on individually. How do you measure certain things? How do you identify an imbalance, and then how do you rebalance them? So life is all about balance. It's yin yang, however you want to say it, but that's the key: is how do you stay in balance? How does your weight stay in balance? Well, your physiology needs to be in balance for that to happen. So when you're talking about trying to maintain or lose weight, you have to know what is affecting that weight gain or weight loss, and you try and balance it out and maximize it.
I got to tell you that, first of all, you definitely walk the walk. I mean, you even have your own garden when you grow organically. But I got to tell you, one of our shows, you actually told us your age. And this whole time, I thought you were in like your early 40s.
Oh, no.
So, and you and I originally got together talking about anti-aging.
Right.
So all the things you do really do pay off, because you look great, Dr. Taylor.
Yeah, I'm 63. I'll be 64 this year. So
telling you look early 40s.
Yeah, well, I try. Like I said, you do want to walk the walk when you're trying to promote something. You don't want to look the opposite of what you're trying to promote. But it's not like I'm doing this so that I can talk about it.
I know.
I'm doing it because, I'll tell you, I saw both of my parents have passed away. But the last 5-10 years of their lives, they were sick. They were a shell of themselves. My dad had high blood pressure and kidney disease and died at age 69. But you're right. I mean, he probably, he probably stopped functioning well 10 years before that. So in the same way with my mother. And so that kind of made me say, well, I really want to live life and function well, as long as I can. So it got me, looking at ways to do that. So, we kind of made this conversion. We wrote our book in 2000. So it's been about 25, 26 years. We've moved toward this. Now, I can't say that everything I do now I did 25 years ago, but I've kind of learned things. And as I learn it, I try and pass it on to my patients and, whatever format is available to me.
I got to tell you, we had a clinic out of the Los Angeles area I think they were San Diego, and they specialize in weight loss. They have listened to 4 or 5 of your shows, and they told me how impressed they were, which I thought that was, I mean, here's a peer, this is someone, they actually deal in weight loss.
Yeah.
And one of the things he said to me was, we have to catch up with Dr. Taylor because you do a lot of different things, Dr. Taylor.
Yeah.
The hormones, I think that's still relatively new. But I want to say something that I want people to really comprehend, that if you're overweight, I am overweight right now. And I've been like this for like the last 10 years. I am doing something about it, but it causes so many major health issues.
Yeah.
Being overweight, Dr. Taylor.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it definitely does. I mean, increased risk of diabetes, heart disease. They think being overweight increases your risk of
even sleep apnea.
Oh, sleep apnea for sure. And then the lack of sleep causes other problems.
Right.
So yeah, it's just a cascade of events. So yeah, it's important to try and maintain a healthy weight, because yeah, it's going to solve a lot of problems. Hypertension goes away, diabetes goes away, a lot of the aches and pains, because you're not carrying around an extra 30, 40, 50 pounds. You're right. If you're not oxygenating well, that sets you up, increases your risk of inflammation. Fat has these things called cytokines that increase inflammation. Inflammation causes problems. So yeah, it's like a snowball going downhill. The longer and the more overweight you are, it's going to damage more things. Just again, your weight is out of balance, and when one thing is out of balance, it throws a whole cascade of other physiologic processes out of balance also.
Tell me, because now that we're covering all of Georgia, so maybe there's somebody who can't get in to see you that wants to, they have a weight issue. How do you treat them?
Well, we can do telehealth now. We can, I can do a Zoom call with them. They can fill out all the paperwork. We do a Zoom call. And first of all, almost, with everybody, I'm looking to see, is there a hormone problem involved? It can be a hormone problem. It can be a gut problem. It can be whatever. So if I probably 70% of my practice are females. So anybody in that menopausal, perimenopausal stage, like 30, well, let's say 40 to 55 or 60, I would tell you most of the time hormones are involved. This imbalance of estrogen and progesterone that goes through when they're going through, quote unquote, the change. The change is hormones become out of balance again because they're not reproductive anymore. So almost always that's going to be an issue. And I would tell you 90% of that, 70% also probably have cortisol issues, where they have issues that are the product of years of stress. And most of these women and men both, by the time they're in their 40s or 50s, they've had their share of stress: school, job, families, divorces, sick parents, all of that stuff. And so cortisol imbalances can also greatly affect your ability to lose weight and affect your ability to not control weight gain. So I've seen it, even if you use the weight loss drugs, the Ozempic and the Wegovy, if your hormones are out of balance, you're not going to get as good a result. It's just not going to happen. I can tell you 2 cases. I had one patient who she had been on it, and paying, $1,000. And after 2 or 3 months, she had only lost 2 pounds. We checked her hormones. She was about to go through a divorce. She had all kinds of things. But anyway, we checked her hormones, cortisol, estrogen, progesterone, got those back in balance. The next month, she lost like 10 pounds. And then overall, she lost like 35, 40 pounds. But it wasn't until we got our hormones straight that the weight loss drugs can work, because they're working on this thing called glucagon-like peptide, which tells your brain that you're full. So that's one issue. But if your estrogen progesterone is out of balance, the estrogen is making you store fat. If your cortisol is out of balance, either it's going to make you store fat, or if it's low, it's going to make you crave carbohydrates because you're trying to fill in this energy gap. So there's multiple reasons why you might not be able to lose weight. And if you only focus on one, you will get some benefit from it, but you're not going to get the full benefit because you still have some things that are out of balance. So these weight loss drugs are good. Losing weight is great, but I'm going to tell you, long term, if you want to be able to maintain that weight, you're going to have to fix those underlying problems that led you to that point.
You know, I always tell you, Dr. Taylor, it's because I've learned so much from you. But you go into, I'll just say GNC because everybody knows GNC.
Yeah.
And you tell them you need to lose weight. And what is the first thing they do? They hand you a pill.
Yeah.
Well, that's the business they're in.
Yeah.
But we all know that everybody's body is different.
Yeah.
So how could one pill do well for everybody?
Yeah.
And what you practice is you want to see what the problem is first.
Right. Right.
That's the way it should be.
Yeah. Because like I said, the weight loss drugs work on this, really on your brain and your stomach emptying. But the problem, it wasn't because you didn't have enough of that peptide. It's something else that made you gain that weight. Okay, because that peptide must have been working, in your 20s, 30s, and 40s.
Right.
You didn't gain any weight. Now you're 40, 50, and 60. Now you're gaining weight. So probably another issue came along, made you gain the weight, and then you're dealing with all these other issues. The weight loss drug, it can stop the process, but whatever got you to that point is probably still there. And once we take that drug away, now it's gonna lead you to the on the same road. So you always want to see, well, hey, how did you get here, and what changed that made you start gaining weight? Because I'll tell you, when I interview these patients, they will tell me, oh, it happened here. And a lot of times, I will tell you, most of the time, it is due to some stressful event, which includes going through menopause, which is a stressful event. But either they'll say, I started gaining weight after I started taking care of my mother with Alzheimer's, or after they died, or after I went through a divorce, or whatever. And on top of the divorce, I was going through menopause, and then my kid dropped out of school, or whatever.
Right.
And so it's something leads them down this path of gaining weight, and you've got to fix that underlying problem.
And we will be talking probably on the next show about stress, because you have said how important stress is. And it's funny, in church yesterday, I thought about you. I am a prayer counselor, and people come up after services and I pray for them. The lines were so long yesterday, Dr. Taylor.
Wow.
People have got different types of stress going on in their lives, but more than ever before.
Yeah. Oh, it's it's stressful out there. Like I said, I told you before, I try not to look at the news. I'll go on an app and just make sure World War III hadn't started.
Yes.
That's about all I want to know. I don't really want to know the rest, because it's you internalize that stuff. You may not realize it, but you're
Right.
internalizing that, and you keep feeding that to yourself. You feel the stress, and you're not even in the stress. You just have seen it on TV, and it affects you. And then people taking the social media, having these arguments about things. It's just you've got to break away from that, because stress. They always say stress can kill you, and you want to be able to learn how to manage that stress. See what that stress has done to your body. What has it done to your gut? What has it done to your energy source? And you try to repair that. And then I say after that, you try to prepare yourself for ongoing or upcoming stress by trying to maintain those balance levels so that you can make it through these stressful times, either unscathed or minimally scathed, I guess.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, Dr. Taylor, so if somebody is out of town,
Mm-hmm.
they call and make an appointment with you, and you do it through Zoom?
Yeah, because I make it very clear in my office policy that I'm not a primary care physician. I'm not going to check your blood pressure and all of those kind of things. So you're coming to me for a specific reason. Most of the time they want saliva testing. And the great thing about
Yes.
that is I can send them a saliva test kit. I don't have
So you
to,
mail it to them, the
I
kit.
can mail it to them. I'll get the results 2-3 weeks later. We get back together on a Zoom. I'll send them the test results. I'll share my screen. I'll show them, hey, this means this means that. This is how we'll fix this. I can get the prescription shipped to them, meet back with them in a couple of months, retest them to make sure that the levels are where I think they should be, make sure that their symptoms have either begun to resolve or have resolved completely. And then we just follow them after that. A lot of times if they are, because most people in Georgia, sooner or later they come to Atlanta. A lot of times they'll say, next time I'm in Atlanta, I'll make sure that our next visit, is in person or whatever. But so yeah, that's how we can do it. I mean, I also do IV therapy, so of course I can't do that, out of town when somebody's out of
You
town.
don't have tubing that long.
I don't. TV's not that long. So yeah, but if we're talking about testing hormones or testing the gut, you can test for food sensitivities. All of those are things that can be done even if they're not in our metropolitan area.
Do you ever find when you do the saliva test, and I have heard now so many times, Dr. Taylor, that the saliva test is so much more accurate than doing the blood.
Yeah.
And you have taught me that also.
Yeah.
Do you ever discover any other ailments when you look at the blood work?
Oh, at the blood work? Yeah. Oh,
I'm sorry, the saliva test.
Oh, do we look for have other things? So, well, most of that's very targeted. We're just looking at
Strictly
estrogen.
hormones.
Yeah, it's strictly hormones because hormones are fat soluble. The reason why is that fat soluble, like fat soluble vitamins, like vitamin E and vitamin K, they're not in the blood because oil and water don't mix. So, like thyroid hormone is not fat soluble. Potassium, all those are what we call electrolytes. They're water soluble, but fat soluble hormones, they're not active when they're in the blood. They have to be coated with this water soluble protein so that they can be transported in the blood to the tissue. So the amount that's in the blood really is not doing anything. The only hormone that is active and causing an effect is actually in the tissue. And the saliva reflects the tissue level because there's fat tissue around the saliva gland that also stores that hormone, and it's in equilibrium with the saliva. So you can get an idea, hey, in the saliva, is there a balance of hormones? If it's imbalanced in the saliva, it's probably imbalanced in your brain and in your uterus and in your breast. And so if we can get this level balanced, it's going to give us an idea of what the balance is, globally or whatever. And so that's the difference. That's why, say, hey, in the saliva, there's certain things you can see. In the blood, there's certain things you can see. But you're not going to see what should be in the tissue. You're not going to see it in the blood. So don't go looking for something where it's not. So so that's the difference.
Well, as usual, Dr. Taylor, I hate coming to the end of the show. You're going to be back with us in a couple weeks,
Yeah.
And I really, because we're getting so much mail now, and we talked about this before the show, these injections that are out there, because you're very familiar with them. And maybe we can do a show on those,
Okay.
as well as stress too.
Yeah.
Give everybody your phone number, especially your website, because that's the best way to
Yeah.
make an appointment with Dr. Taylor is through his website.
Right. So the website is Taylor Medical Group, and that's Taylor, Taylor, taylormedicalgroup.net. And on every page of the website, there's a lot of information to kind of educate you on looking at things in a different way. And there's also a book now button where you can book a telehealth, you can book an in-person visit, and you can do that 24/7, or you can call our office at 678-443-4000, 678-443-4000. So those are the two best ways to communicate with us.
Well, we are so blessed to have you, Dr. Taylor, and we will see you again. Hey, stay warm.
Yeah, I'm trying. Yeah.
God bless Dr. Taylor.
Okay. All right. See you guys. All right.
That's Dr. Eldred Taylor of the Taylor Medical Group. He's an amazing physician, and I hope you'll, if you feel like you're having a weight problem, you will contact him. He just makes so much sense, and he's such a good guy. Anyhow, that's it for us today. We'll be back with you again next week with more Ask the Experts.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.